Welcome to another episode of Graceful Touch Speaks Out with our guest today, who is Rex Sikes. Welcome to the call, Rex.
Well, thank you so much, Guy. I appreciate being here, and I look forward to talking with you during the time.
Absolutely. We had a little bit of time to visit just right before this, and one of the things that you had mentioned is that you have a book that you have written called Life on Your Terms.
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about that book.
Well, I wrote the book because, a lot of us, myself included, I tell a little bit about myself in the book, but I have stories about other people. We get stuck in certain places in our life, whether that's financial or romantic or health-wise or happiness, or lack of confidence for being able to do something. And we don't know how to move ahead. So I wrote the book to help people learn how to get from where they are to where they want to be more easily and with more fun and delight than what you usually hear. Because there are a lot of thought leaders out there, or self-help gurus, who instead of helping you break free from the stuff that holds you back, they actually tend to teach you or share with you the very things that keep you stuck. Like you got to work extra hard. Well, yes, you could. But that's not a requirement. You have to sacrifice. Yes, you can, but that's not a requirement. You have to take risks. Well, of course you might, but not a requirement. So a lot of what people are telling people in terms of entrepreneurs or people who are wanting to make a change in their personal life or their business life, they're giving them a lot of inaccurate information and myths and stuff that's perpetuated in our culture. And it's part of the reason why we're stuck in the first place growing up. So what I try and do is take out the myths and help people connect with their inner resources. We're infinite possibilities. There are infinite opportunities, and there's plenty of resources both inside us and outside of us to draw from. So I wrote the book to help people live the life that they want to live on their terms or on your terms to create the life that they want.
Which is fantastic and whatnot. And there's one myth that I'm going to cover in a little bit later, but beforehand, I want to build a little bit more foundation as it relates to the whole book and everything. Why are you the person to bring this book forward? What it is? Does this bring forward your history, or why you?
Well, great question. I mean, really a great question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me why me, so that's very cool. And the reason is, yes, I've been there. I don't, they say that good leaders don't expect anyone to do what they wouldn't do. So if you're a leader and you want someone to clean the toilets, you have to be willing to clean the toilets. Well, I've been in the trenches. I've had the heartbreak. I've gone broke. I've had the devastation, the personal tragedies, all the stuff in life that everybody has. But what I found, and I write a little bit about it in the book, is I actually locked myself in my apartment for over 6 weeks to try and get my head clear because of a thing I was going through. And, I got up to go to the bathroom and I got up to have some food, but I stayed inside the apartment trying to work on my mindset and figure out what was going on and why I was so troubled and why I had wanted to kill myself and everything. And during that time, I would go, how come I'm so stupid? How could I have done this? Why do these things happen to me? And I realized, and about 3 weeks into it, I was asking all the wrong questions. I didn't care so much as to why it happened or how long it would take to get out of it or why I was stupid. I wanted to know how I could live my life successfully and go out and face my friends and my business people and clients and customers and all that kind of stuff and walk through life feeling good about myself, not what a schmuck I had been. And when I realized that I was actually directing my mind into feeling bad, and as a result, I would feel bad. When I realized I could switch that to put my mind on something that made me feel better, then I started to feel better. Now, here's the thing. We are creatures of habit, Guy. We do things and complete, they're unconscious habits. What is an unconscious habit? It means it's automatic and reliable. Whenever it triggers or whenever it triggers, whether it's biting nails, overeating, or feeling bad and talking negative to yourself, whatever it is that causes that to start, if because so many people are creatures of habit, more people than not say things like, why am I such a loser? How come I'm so stupid? they look in the mirror and go, wow, what a fat slob or a skinny runt, and they aren't used to praising themselves or affirming the positive things. So they say, I tried affirmations, but it didn't work. Well, it's not that it didn't work. It's that you're so used to doing one thing, the negative thing, so frequently and so often that the new thing you're trying to do seems very unfamiliar and it seems very tough and very difficult, but it really isn't. But you do have to get used to it. In the same way, Guy, if you wanted to learn to juggle tomorrow, you pick up these balls and you start juggling and they'd fall all over the place. If you said, well, crap, I'm a stupid juggler, I'm never going to get this, and stop, you will never juggle. But if you understand that dropping the balls is part of it and chasing them is part of it and keeping with it and practicing it, eventually you get good or you get better. And the better you get, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the better you get at it. And pretty soon, if you stay with it, you've got a new habit. Now you say, I juggle. I'm a juggler. And from that point on, you can continue to improve. So it's a little like a learning curve, but anyone can do it. Anyone can do it if they just give themselves permission and the opportunity, and to go through it. But going through it sometimes seems tough.
Kind of sounds like you're saying give yourself the opportunity to fail, but fail forward.
Well, yeah, and anything worth doing well is worth doing poorly at first, because everything we've ever done, we've done poorly at first. Think about, moving and crawling and walking. We did plenty of falling down. The difference was, we didn't read a book about it. We didn't watch a video about it. We didn't have, couldn't even talk at the time. So we couldn't sit there and whine and complain and all that. So we just had to keep doing it until we got it done. Once we learned how to talk and we realized that people were taking care of us, we put our attention on the caregivers and go, now we want people to do it for us. We want it to be easy. We want it to be handed to us. Few people, are willing to say, if it's up to me, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And that's truly what we need to do.
And that is the premise of your book, is to teach people how to empower the positive energy rather than allow the negative energy to draw from you.
Well, that's a great summation of it. Yeah. I mean, if we all were to stop and think about it, we get stuck or we get upset, because it's electrochemical in nature. It's what goes on in the brain and the body that produce it. So if you think a horrible thought, and visualize a horrible thought, you're going to feel bad. That's tied together. The brain is wired that way, so you're going to feel bad. And if you feel bad, then that's going to produce the next negative thought or the next negative picture in your head. So you're going to feel, so you can spiral right down. And the key is you can also spiral right back up if you change what you're dwelling on. The beautiful part about it is that the feelings that we have, while a lot of people say, I have all these unwanted feelings and I don't like them, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm, whatever, I'm insecure. All of those feelings are really signals. They're information. They're gifts. They're gifts to us to recognize, like your alarm clock is a gift to wake you up in the morning. It goes on so that your attention is drawn to, oh, it's time to get up. Well, your feelings do the same thing, but they usually grab us through less than glorious or what we would call negative feelings, because it's those unwanted feelings tell us what our thinking is and what we're talking about and what we're producing. And here's going back to the other thing. It's a whole lot easier to change, even in the way that I'm talking about, than most people would tell you. That's why they say it's really hard. You got to struggle. You got to risk. You got to, really work really hard, because if you don't, you're going to fail. They prey on people's fear in order to get them into programs or to get them to read books or do things. But change can be fun. It can be easy. It can be smooth. It doesn't mean that there aren't upheavals, but as you go through it, you learn to navigate those. So it's really about learning how to become resilient and making those little adjustments that keep you moving forward. Because if you think it's going to be hard, if you say, oh, I've never juggled, that's going to be hard and I suck at it, it's infinitely harder. Yep. And it will take you longer than if you go, wow, I love to juggle. I don't know much about it, but I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it. And whoops, there goes another one. And there goes another. And you have fun in the process. So if you can make it delightful and you feel delighted about it, it becomes much, 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 much more easy.
That's kind of why, as a massage therapist, which is what I am, I don't really work a day in the week. We have a lot of work that we do. But in my opinion, it's not work because I enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing and whatnot like that. If I didn't enjoy it and it was just a matter of I was going in to, stamp a clock and that's it, that'd be one thing. But to me, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Well, if you love what you do, that's a great thing to get you through stuff. I mean, if you love it, if you have a big why, I write in my book, Muhammad Ali made this confession. He said, you know what? I hate training a lot of times. I don't want to train. I don't want to get up when it's cold and go run behind a car. He said, but I know that if I want to be a world-class champion boxer, if I want to be the greatest, which he asserted before he became the greatest, if I want to be that person, I need to train. So he didn't let the feelings of not wanting to do it or wanting to sit on the couch and eat donuts rule him. He ruled his feelings. He said, and why? Because it was important to him. He had a passion and a desire and a need to be really, really good at what he wanted to do. And so he was willing to do these things. Now, it wasn't a sacrifice because he knew he was working toward his, ultimate destination or his ultimate goal, like you said. And it was a passion thing for him. So even though, he articulates it for the average person to say, well, I didn't want to do this. I didn't like it. What makes you think I want to get up and do that stuff? But it's not work when it's something that drives you so wonderfully.
So, one of the things that you mentioned earlier on is no such thing as self-sabotage. Well, first of all, what is self-sabotage?
No, since it doesn't exist, who knows?
Well, fair enough. Good answer. Good answer.
But,
what do most people identify self-sabotage as being?
So what typically happens, and it's a silly psychological notion, whose time has come to end it. What happens is somebody says, I want to do something, like they smoke, and then they say, I want to quit. And then they start the process of quitting, and they smoke, they fall off the wagon, they smoke, they do something and they go, well, I'm sabotaging myself. Or I want to get up for the job tomorrow, but I overslept, so I sabotage myself. I must not really want to do that. Some part of me is holding me back. Well, if you understand how the brain actually works, both as an organ and as the mind, which you can argue that they're two different things, but they operate dependent on each other. In the same way that your head, your mind, your brain, and your heart work together. If your heart stops, it doesn't really matter if you have a head, a brain. If your brain stops, it doesn't really matter if you have a heart. They are intimately connected. So in the same way, the brain can only do what the brain learns. The brain is a learning machine. It's everything that you and I do today. You're on the computer, I'm on the computer, we're in front of cameras, we're speaking, are all learned skills. Now, we may have a little bit of DNA predisposition, but that's relative and minor. Everything we've done has become a product of our conditioning from those people around us. We're like from the 0 to 7, we're essentially a sponge. From 0 to 2, we're primarily in what's called the delta waves. We sleep a lot. We don't do a lot of awake conscious things. We're babies, right? And from 2 to about 7, we're in what's called theta. So in brain waves, and besides gamma, there's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Delta being the closest to sleep, theta being right before you fall asleep, or what people would call the hypnotic conditioning process. Alpha is the relaxation state that happens when you close your eyes and you begin to relax, and beta is considered normal waking consciousness. So as an infant, we're all exposed to sounds and sights. We're exposed to the people around us, whether they are happy or not happy, or sometimes angry or sometimes violent, or afraid of certain things, and whatever problems they have. These things are things that we imbibe just by being exposed to it. And somewhere down the line, we adopt a lot of it, because in order to make anything a habit, it has to be repeated enough times consistently and in the same way, essentially, for it to become a habit. The brain wires it in. So we've learned to be afraid. We've learned to be angry. We've learned to be happy. We've learned to be horny. We've learned to shy away from things and everything else. The brain learns, and it can't do anything that it didn't learn. Does that make sense so far? So we're following. Mm-hmm. So it's a learning machine. So if your brain learned to smoke, your brain will keep you smoking. Why? Because your brain only has two prime directives. One is to keep you alive, and that means to keep you surviving. So it looks in the real world for anything it perceives as a threat so that you can avoid it. And at one time, we lived in the jungle. Now we live urban or rural. But, a lot of those threats aren't the same kind of threats that we faced hundreds of years ago. So we have threats in the workplace from our bosses and our coworkers. We have threats driving on the freeway. We have emotional threats. Somebody looks at you and says, I don't like that. And you don't like the tone or the sound, and you perceive it as a threat. Someone on the freeway gives you the finger, you give it back, So here's the thing. Since the brain only can do what it does, and it's designed to keep you alive, and why is it designed? It's designed to keep you alive and survive, so it looks for anything that might be wrong, and then attempts to protect you. For what purpose? So you can thrive. And what does thrive mean? It means so that you can reproduce, pass your genes along, and so that the species continues. So the brain works to keep you alive and to help you thrive. Now, you have, or I, or whomever, has begun a habit, whether it's overeating, talking negative to themselves, eating donuts when they want to be exercised, whatever it might be, or smoking. That's what the brain has learned to do. Now we come along and say, I don't want to smoke anymore. And the brain goes, oh, you're a smoker. Now, understand that I'm being a little facetious here. The brain doesn't talk to you. There's no person inside your brain. This is
I get you there. I get you. This is more of an internal dialogue.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, in other words, it's just your brain is just a series of processes, conditioned processes and electrochemical impulses. It's not a person. It's not someone in there that's processing language and going, well, Rex, or well, Guy, here's what we're going to do instead. That's not what's happening. But we anthropomorphize animals and give them human characteristics, and we do the same thing with our brain. But what's happening is that we go, I don't want to smoke anymore, and the brain smokes. And so you try and stop smoking consciously, and the brain's habit is to smoke. So what's it going to likely do? And here's the other thing. That brain that unconscious process is billions and billions and billions and billions of times stronger, more powerful than our conscious mind. Our conscious mind is good at setting direction, saying, I want to go to the store. I want to be a millionaire. It's good at recalling things like, well, when I was in second grade, I did this, or the Gettysburg Address is these words. It's good at making some plans like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go to the store, and then from there So it has some skills, but it isn't good at carrying them out. You can't even lift up a pencil or move your arm or go to the bathroom or do anything consciously.
True.
So you're doing it all unconsciously or subconsciously, so those processes are bound to win. So what you need to do is, instead of insulting yourself and saying, I'm sabotaging myself, there's a part of me that's doing this and that, is to befriend these processes and understand how the brain works so that you can do something different. It truly is a conditioning process. If you want the body of a sculpted bodybuilder, say like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you have to eat right, you have to sleep right, you have to do the proper amount of exercise, and you have to get the right amount of rest, consistently, repeatedly for long enough in order to develop that body. It's not going to magically happen. And if you sit there and said, well, I had donuts, I'm sabotaging myself, it's just that if that's what you've already done, you have to learn how to develop your conditioning process so that you're not eating donuts, but eating the food that you want. And since people don't get this, they complain about themselves, and complaining about yourself or making yourself wrong isn't helping you to be right.
And it actually leads to what I understand as learned helplessness. Would you go there? Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely, because you're saying it's not my fault. My brain is screwing me up. It's thwarting me. It's preventing me, or someone else, or circumstances, or the situation, or the events, or the government, or God, or the banks. Or it's always somebody else's fault, or even my own fault that is outside of my control. And what I want people to understand is, when you take control and you befriend these processes, things start working together for you.
You use the word control. Would the word responsibility be a good word there too?
It's a better word to be responsible and accountable than to think in terms of control. But the difference is you can be a victor or you can be a victim. You can be, you can say winner or loser. Those have horrible connotations necessarily. But the point is, if you want to win, you do what winners do. And if you don't want to win, then you do what people who don't win do. And that's where most people find themselves. It's a really sad statistic, but according to Napoleon Hill and research since then, it said only about two people out of 100 will ever decide to be responsible for their own life and acquire the kind of wealth and health and happiness and peace of mind that they're entitled to and that they deserve, because only 2 out of 100 are willing to take responsibility for that life.
I think that take responsibility is so huge. So huge. I'm glad that you covering that. Now, one other thing that we mentioned early on was, you work with a wide gambit of different individuals, from the really rich to the really poor. So would you suggest that this podium that you're talking about, as far as people not taking life on their own terms, happens irrespective of the socioeconomical structure a person finds himself in?
Repeat the question. Is it that
So you would think that if somebody is rich, they've arrived. They obviously know how to handle life. Whereas if somebody is poor, they don't necessarily have that understanding, and that's why they're poor.
Wow. Go ahead.
Go ahead and answer that.
I mean, it's a great question, and there's a number of moving parts in that. Somebody who's rich may be good at a number of skills that allowed them to be rich. But I've met many rich people. I've had billionaires fly me to their homes and go, look, everything I have. I got the boats, I got the cars, I got this, I got that, I got that. Yet I'm not happy. Why am I not happy when I have everything? And I know other people who are absolutely broke. They have no skills in making money. They have nothing to account for, and they're deliriously happy.
So how can that even be possible?
Well, because it depends on what people are looking toward. Some people are looking at outer things in order to fulfill them, or getting to a destination in order to fulfill them, while others are presently happy and grateful for everything that they already have or that have. So I've said this for a long, long time, most of my life. I didn't always, but when I was a child, I would ride in the backseat of my parents' car with my sister, going, are we there yet? 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 Like a lot of people did, right?
Sure.
So I didn't enjoy getting there. I wanted to be there. So when I got older and I could fly, I said, well, if I could teleport, I'd be happy to travel. But I hate traveling. I don't like the process of traveling. I don't like getting in the airports. I don't like getting on the planes. I don't like the whole thing. I don't like packing. I don't want any of it. But as a speaker, author, filmmaker, all the things, I would have to travel a lot. So what I learned is the destination is one thing. You may never make the destination. I could plan to go somewhere tomorrow and life would be over. I might not make that destination.
No, it can happen.
But I don't say that to be like, whoa, But what I'm pointing out is whether you get the $1 billion or you don't make it, or you die before you could make it, the key is to enjoy the moment that you have and the journey along the way, and to celebrate everything. If you think of something as a problem, it's going to be a problem. If you think of it as a gift or a blessing, it can be a gift or a blessing, because you can extract so many possibilities from it, so many lessons from it, so many learnings from it, so many different ways to think about it. But if you only think of it as a problem, it will always be a problem. So I tell people, celebrate everything. And they go, what? Even my problems? I go, if they aren't problems, if you're celebrating them.
There you go.
Gift. If you're sitting there going, damn it, I smoke, I suck, I'm horrible, you're not celebrating. If you said, wow, you know what, I learned to do something that was unhealthy or that I don't want to do now could I use that same mechanism to learn to do what I want? I mean, that's a gift. That's what people don't understand. The very problem that they have oftentimes that they're trying to get over is the problem that they have, is that they're looking for a solution to something instead of going, you know what, This is an opportunity for me to release or to let go or to learn or to discover all the different many wonderful things around me or in me or from me or to me that, contribute to making life really, really wonderful. So those people who are very, very successful in life are not necessarily the richest, although they can be. Those people who are successful at living have learned how to have peace and resilience and make micro adjustment, like your GPS adjusts when you get off course, but doing it in a way that's not where they don't get mad at themselves for being off course. Most people get frustrated, they get sad, they get depressed, they get wind knocked out of them, and then they go, woe is me, I'm no good, and they go into that kind of negativity. If you're consider this, as a child, we learned to do more things through play and discovery and curiosity, whether it was chasing butterflies or looking in a pond or, playing out in the yard with a stick, and pretending. We learned more that way than we ever did in our formal education years. In formal education years, all we really learned to do was memorize and regurgitate information and give it back, with the exception of some practicums. There were labs and different things that you might have to do. But essentially, it's information. And if you want to go to the Garden of Eden story, whether you believe it is true or whether you believe it's a parable or an allegory, they had a choice of choosing life or knowledge. And they chose knowledge. And so what happened? They got kicked out of this paradise. So think about that in terms of an allegory for us. If we choose knowledge, if we choose, information over the experience of being alive and being fulfilled, we're always going to suffer. But we don't have to, because we could choose life instead. So it's learning how to be life affirming, life celebratory, and live with joy and peace and passion. So the really, really, truly successful people, whether they're multi-millionaires or not, are those people who have peace and understanding and resilience and joy. They understand that it's important for them to be in harmony with themselves and then their friends and their family, their neighbors, even strangers. They're the kind of people who aren't holding grudges. They're not hating each other. They're not intolerant. They're supportive, because guess what? We live in a terrarium. Mm-hmm. It's all said and done. We live in this gas-encased world, and everyone in it, whatever color, whatever religion, whatever gender, whatever politics, whatever nationality, whatever size, whatever shape, whatever anything, if you think about it like your body has trillions of cells, and they all work independent functions, but they work synergistically together to keep you alive. Just your organism. You have brain cells, you've got foot cells, you've got tongue cells, you got you got all this stuff going on, and its job is to work as best as it can. Sometimes there's illness or whatever, but work as best it can to keep the organism alive. Well, consider us a cell in the universe. We're just one of billions of cells working together. And if we're going to fight each other, we're going to have problems. But if we learn to get along and have harmony, then we uplift everyone. Like the saying, a rising tide can lift all of the boats and everyone in them. So harmony is truly harmony and peace and compassion and caring and understanding and celebration is truly far, far, far more important and gets you further faster than anything else.
And the interesting thing about that is, as you are lifting up others and as you're doing that encouraging and building up others, guess who goes along with the pack?
Absolutely.
You do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you ever want to feel instantly better, go help somebody who's worse than you are.
There you go.
Go donate your time, your energy, your efforts to somebody who's got more problems than you, and see how they benefit and how they smile, how they respond, and it will uplift and make you feel better.
So how does one put their hands on Life on Your Terms book? Where does that go?
Well, my name is Rex Sikes. It's REXSIKES. I don't know if you put it anywhere, but rexsikes.com is my website. And at the website, if you go rexsikes.com/book, it'll take you right to the book. And you can get the book. Here's a cool thing, though. If you get the book from Amazon, and it is all explained on my website, but if you get the book from Amazon, you can get it anywhere. But if you get it from Amazon, there's instructions of taking that receipt code back to my website, putting it in a special place. And when they do that, they bought the book on Amazon, I will gift them a $497 training on mastery, how we master our thoughts, our feelings, our self-talk and conversation with others, our behaviors, any talents and any abilities. Faster, easier, and with more delight than they could imagine. So it's a $500, essentially, online video training that I give as a bonus to those people who bought the book in the way that
so we've got your website, rexsikes.com.
Correct.
And then we've got Amazon where we can find the Life on Your Terms. Now, is there any other way that you like to have your audience connect with you?
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm on Facebook. They can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on, most social media. But no, I mean, they can reach out to me through rexsikes.com. I've got online programs and courses and a free gift if they go and they can subscribe to my newsletter. I have a daily blog I've written for, 14 years or something like every single day for all these years. And I've never missed a day.
Wow. So it sounds like the best ultimate to start getting into your sphere of influence is to go to your website.
Well, that's one of the ways to do it. Yeah, I've got. I don't know. I got a lot of things coming out. I've got a master class starting pretty soon. I've been teaching, the laws of success and law of attraction and Napoleon Hill and related disciplines. So I've got a whole new kind of master class starting soon. I don't know that the information is up on my website yet, but I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to either jump in and learn with me and add value to yourself and others. What's really cool are the people who show up. I mean, I attract just some of the most incredible and amazing people, because they resonate with the message and they want to help the world and help others. And so those people who gather are they're in it, not just for themselves, but they're in it for each other. So I love that.
Awesome. All right. So we've explored the website. We've explored Amazon. And it sounds like as people get into the website, they're going to learn other ways to connect and everything like that, which is fine and whatnot. What is one thing that you would say that if people would just understand this aspect, that would propel them forward into a much more enriched by Rex concept than anything else?
Wow. Well, that's again, what a fabulous question. And yeah, you can have if you use your brain right, if you use your mind right, you can have the kind of money that you want, and you can make it. Now you might make it, lose it. But, as some people, you can have the kind of health that you want, given whatever situations you're in. You can be happy, you can create romance and family and friendship and stuff. There's a knack. It's really interesting. We use these words, negative and positive, or good or bad, or right or wrong, but there's no such thing as positive and negative. And yet there is. On a car battery, you have a positive and negative pole, but it's this both aspects of the battery. So both aspects of life is like light and dark, hot and cold. The waves go in and the waves go out. There's tall and short. Yes, things are what appear to be opposite of each other. So, somebody says, I have a good day, I have a bad day. Well, those are descriptions. Now consider this. And this may not seem that profound at first, but if someone really, really, really reflects on it and embraces this and understands it kind of in their DNA, changes everything.
Awesome.
There's no such thing as a positive or negative thought or a positive or negative feeling, or a positive or negative event, or a positive or negative person, or a positive or negative circumstances, or anything. Before human consciousness arose on the planet, things just happened. There were volcanoes, there were lightning storms, there were fires, animals came and went, insects came and went, the dinosaurs disappeared, a meteor hit the planet, there are plate tectonics, there's tidal waves, there were floods and rains and droughts and everything, and there was not a single person on the planet to call it good or bad. When human consciousness arose, it came along with the ability, which it's an evolutionary thing, it's wonderful, but it came along with the ability to make a judgment, to be discerning, and to do it. So if you were an early human and you had a tent and the wind came along and blew your tent down, well, you might say, well, that sucks. Now I got to build another tent. And so that event became labeled as a bad thing. What are these? They're judgments. But the event is simply the event. You see this on the news. Some of these houses have been destroyed in fires, and one person is crying in the street. And how people respond is how they respond. So I'm not making a judgment about them. But one person cries and goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm totally wiped out. Another person goes, it was just a house. We're going to build. We'll build somewhere new. It doesn't matter. Or someone will say, thank God that house burned down. We're just going to get rid of it anyway. How we respond to things is where our choices occur. Most of us react. So if something happens and it's bad, we react the same way out of habit or from habit. Because that's it. Somebody gives you the finger on the freeway, you give them the finger back, or you do whatever. It's a reaction. But we have the ability to respond. That means that to take a pause, take a breath, take a moment, and then choose how you want to respond. Choose how you want to react. And people will talk about this simply, like someone cuts you off on the freeway, you can go, that mother, or you go, wow. Maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe they're going, it's a reframe, it may or may not be true, but it's not about them. It's not trying to reframe them and forgive them and give them permission. It's so that you or I have now a freedom to choose differently instead of getting hostile and angry and aggravated and, so learning that there's no such thing as a positive thought or a negative thought. There's just thoughts, and that you have a choice where you want to put your energy and or your attention. So you have a choice to put it in sadness and frustration and anger and insecurity and depression and all those things, or you have the choice to put it into peace and joy and love and compassion and understanding and kindness and generosity and all those things. I say it this way, dog crap or diamonds, you choose.
There you go.
That's the choice that everybody has. And there's a lot of people
one thing you mentioned earlier was that tent and how the wind blew it down. Well, I could see that as an advantage too, because the first tent is never going to be as good as the second tent, and so while it's going to be a pain in the backside to try and recover from, you're going to have a better situation because the second time around, third, fourth time around, you're going to be that much more wise in how to handle life events.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful, and I appreciate you for adding to that, because what people don't understand is, the early humans on the planet, for the most part, were foragers or hunters or gatherers, right? So they lived on the plains or wherever they lived, and they moved around from place to place before they became a band and then a tribe and then a civilization. They were a lot of movement. They walked. Their eyes, their sense of nature was more attuned. They could pick up something. Oh, buffalo's been by here or whatever. We've lost that. Why? Because we don't do it. We don't
practice it.
So what typically happened though is we went from being a very active, from sun up to sundown, we were on the move for the most part. And then at nighttime, we'd gather around a fire, we'd eat and go to sleep, and we'd wake up and do it all over again. We had to forage, we had to hunt, we had to do whatever. When we moved then we became an agrarian society, and we settled and we raised crops. And now we were in one place and we raised crops. So if somebody came and stole our crops, we were mad at them in the same way we'd be mad if somebody stole our stuff while we were on the move. But we were mad. This was our place. We became more territorial, and we became tied to the land. Then we became an industrial age. We moved from the agrarian society to the industrial thing, and we started working for other people, getting a paycheck in really bad, horrible, factory conditions where children were being killed and, the whole thing. And now we're in an information age, and we've moved. We keep shifting again. But what's happened is, we don't move. We live in a box. We drive in a box. We sit on a chair. We work in front of a computer or in front of a screen for a large part, or we work inside a store. We aren't out living the way we used to. We've lost touch with so many things that are intrinsic to our humanness, and they're latent. They're in there, but they're not being used. So the talents and abilities that we have now may differ from the ones that we're not out having to survive that way, but we're out having to survive to make the rent or the mortgage or to pay the bills, to buy the food. So the problems, if you want to call them problems, don't change, or the opportunities to explore your resources and your possibilities differ.
Mm-hmm.
if you end up saying it was better one time versus this time, or yesterday is better than today, if it's a pain in the butt to have to build a tent again, that's all happening in here.
That's right.
I mean, it's your attitude towards what's going on that determines whether life is wonderful or life is not wonderful.
Right. So, my name is Guy Severson. I'm with Graceful Touch Speaks Out. It's part of what we do. And if you want to get on and talk like what Rex is doing today, and share your passion, your focus, your purpose, then all you need to do is go to Pain Relief, the number 4, the letter U, and look at how to connect with us for that on Instagram. You can also find our entire product line at gracefultouchproducts.org. Now, Rex, I'm going to come right back over to you one more time for a final thought, a final focus. What if people could only take one thing out of this call? What would you want that to be?
I'll say it again. If you consider something a problem, it will be a problem. If you consider it a blessing, it will be a blessing. So learn to celebrate everything. Be grateful for what you have, and what you have increases. The more that you complain about what you don't have, the more your attention and your energy goes to what you do not have, and it makes you feel less than glorious. It makes you feel any way other than what you're wanting to do. So learn how to celebrate every opportunity, every possibility, and explore it from your inner resources, and learn to live in that way with harmony in yourself. So celebrate everything. That would be my message.
Awesome. Well, Rex, I just wanted to say thank you for carving out some time for me today.
Thank you.
And I just really appreciate the time that we've had. Do you have any final thought before we close that you would want to make sure that perhaps didn't get into the talk?
No, not really. Just come and visit me. Get the book. Read the book. There's a lot of good stories from a lot of good people that will explain very easily, maybe even better than what I did here now, of what you can do and what you can expect and how you can move forward and how life can be truly an incredible life. Because you know what? You deserve it.
Absolutely. And just to remind everybody, the first way to do that is to go to rexsikes.com. And either that or you can go out on Amazon and look up Life on Your Terms directly on Amazon. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, and it's Life on Your Terms, Create the Life You Want. It's a yellow book. It's got my photo on the cover and a bunch of other stuff, because there are some other books, that may have similar titles. So if you want my book, normally I have a copy of my book somewhere, but I don't have it near me right now.
No worries. Rex, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I really have enjoyed listening and learning from you.
Well, and right back at you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I thank you, and I really appreciate the insights and the wisdom that you shared right along with this discussion. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Till next time, Rex, we'll talk again.
All righty. Thank you, Guy.